when we think about who should run for office and where we should run for office, we'll be appalled to know how few seats that progressives actually contest. So please welcome Kathryn.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dreams.
Yay! I haven't actually seen the Lego movie, but everything is awesome. Seems great. So I have 3 challenges for you to think about today that come from this question. Can we start to win by learning to lose? Yay, losing! We're losing. I don't think this is a point of contention. Conservatives have the majority of power in state legislatures across the country where really important things happen, like redistricting and reapportionment and laws that change all of our lives at the ground level. I started looking into what was affecting those state legislative elections, and it turns out there are a lot of seats up for election every cycle. If we're just thinking about state legislature, we're thinking too narrow. So how many seats are there? How many seats are there? There are a lot. In fact, there are over 300,000 seats available nationwide every 2 years. 300,000. So if we had progressives running in all of these seats every cycle, we would have over 500,000 people running all the time, right? Or somewhere around there. But we don't. In Virginia, last cycle, 71% of House of Delegates races were uncontested. 44 Republicans got elected without a Democratic option on the ballot. 44. So we know that we can't win if we're not playing, if we're not running. Why aren't people running? This is the audience involvement portion of the lightning talk, because how many of you have ever thought about running for office? Cool. How many of you can think of a reason why not to run for office? Okay, so think of one reason, and then we're going to say it all together. Say your one reason. Really, tell me what it is pretty loudly. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Nothing.
Great. I've heard a lot of those reasons. I have identified 2 key reasons that people don't run that I want to talk about today. One is that people feel unsupported. So feeling unsupported means you feel like you don't have access to the tools or the knowledge or the team that you need to run a good campaign. Feeling unsupported means you may not have access to the tools or the knowledge or the team that you have to run a good campaign. Or it may mean that you don't feel entitled to that access. You don't feel like you can step up and take advantage of those tools and that team and that knowledge. Both are problems. So my first challenge to you is, how do we support people so that they run, so that it's possible to win, right? So can we build institutions to support candidates at every single level? If you're running for dog catcher, who do you call? Let's build it. That's challenge 1. Okay, another audience participation. Think of your second reason, different reason why not to run for office. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Nothing.
Time, money. Did anybody say losing? Lots of people don't run because they don't want to lose, right? I do not like losing. I think you'll find a lot of people in the political world don't like losing. And often we set out to run races, and I hear people say, well, you got to run somewhere you can win. So my second challenge for you is to think about losing differently. We know we send our kids out every weekend, right, to go lose over and over and over again. Because we know that a key part of being a competent adult human is learning how to lose and get back in the game over and over and over again. We know there are lessons that you can only learn from losing, and unless we send our kids back out on the field, they're not going to learn those lessons. Those lessons exist for candidates too. There are lessons that you learn the first time you run for office that you never have to learn again. And there are lessons that you can never learn until your name is on the ballot and until you've stepped into the arena. So this is my challenge to us. If we know that our kids need to lose over and over and over again to be competent adult humans, why aren't we building competent adult candidates by helping them lose over and over and over again? It's exciting. So this is my second challenge. Let's start to think about losing as part of a long-term strategy, a key part of a long-term strategy. What would that look like? Kathryn, you may be asking me, how do I think about losing as part of a long-term strategy? Here are a couple of sample trajectories if you're thinking about running for office for the first time that you may want to think about. One, everybody says you should run for, what do you run for first? Dog catcher, city council. What if you ran for Congress first? What if you decided that you were going to learn some lessons by running against an incumbent member of Congress? You're going to go big. You're probably going to lose. But your name's going to be on the ballot in front of 500,000 voters. If you're running even a mediocre campaign, you're going to be communicating with tens of thousands of voters. You're going to have interactions with people who are running community organizations and churches and county parties and volunteers and schools. And you're going to start to build a community of support that you can coalesce to do whatever you want with. So what if you run for Congress and you lose, and then you do what you want to with that community of support? Next time you run, all these people have seen your name on the ballot, you know who's giving you money and who's not, and you have a district that may be within your congressional district ready to go. So what if you run big? Okay, and you're saying, great, this is fantastic, but I don't have time to run. I'm thinking about running for office when I have time, when my kids are in junior high, when I can take a leave of absence from my job, when I'm out of grad school. Is that true for anybody, right? I don't have time? Yeah. What if you run part-time? What if you decide that you don't have to run like it's a full-time job, and you pick something small, and you run it like a hobby? So you don't remortgage your house, you don't take a leave of absence from your job, you don't renegotiate your childcare situation. You, on Wednesday nights, call some people and ask them for money. And you probably lose, and then next year maybe you do the same thing, and maybe you do Wednesday and Thursday nights, and it's people who have given before, and so they're ready to give more. So what if you chip away at these lessons over a number of years, because losing doesn't bother you, and you're ready to keep going? And this, to me, I love this because it feels to me, in all of my worldly experience, like training for the Olympics, right? You can't expect to go big and go hard and swim against Katie Ledecky and win unless you've been training like hell. So train like hell. And then when you're at the peak of your game, you can make or choose an opportunity that presents itself and go hard. Take a leave from your job and run like hell. So these are not the two only ways that you can build losing into a scenario. There are so many ways you can lose. But they're two at different ends of the spectrum to get you thinking about how can you strategically incorporate losing into your long-term trajectories. You may also want to lose to push an agenda item forward, right? There are some other reasons to run and lose. Okay, so then my third challenge, this is where it gets uncomfortable for some of the more establishment people usually, although I got approval from Representative Meyer on this very point. What if we think about primaries differently? If we are thinking about campaigns as a place to learn how to be candidates, why aren't we creating more campaigns, which we can do with primaries? Why don't we ask our party officials to encourage more people to run in the primary. Let's have a 5-way primary, because then we have 4 candidates who are ready for other opportunities, as well as 1 great nominee. I know, it's a little sticky, but it's worth thinking about. I did some math. If those 300,000 candidates across the country, those 300,000 seats that are available every cycle, if we had progressive candidates in each of those seats and we had primaries for each of those seats, every cycle, the people who didn't win, we would have almost 500,000 progressive candidates who now have experience, organization, wisdom, and teams behind them. And think about that when you think about recruiting for who's going to run in state legislative seats over the next year. What could happen with 500,000 experienced candidates? So that's what I'm working on, building institutions to support people all the way down the ballot. So if you're running to lose or running to win, we got you. I would love to talk with you this weekend. I'm so honored to be here with you. I'm so inspired that you're here, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you. Thanks.